This episode is made possible by New Masters Academy, the world's absolute #1 online art school in the entire world. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy.
I am in your mind. I am in your...
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist and independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Today we're going to talk about Gen Z doesn't care about your movies, and this is why.
But before we get into it, make sure to like, subscribe, jingle all our bells and buttons, please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Thank you for joining us. The nights are getting longer.
Yes.
Stranger danger. You gotta go inside your house before the sun goes down.
Yeah.
Hope everybody's been doing that. Oh wait, there's nowhere else to go, so.
It is fall.
It is fall.
You look great.
You still look great. It's actually really hot here.
Yeah, still. But hopefully it's getting cooler wherever you're at.
And thank you. You're doing great. I hope you're doing great. We're doing great. And Janet, you're old.
Yes.
How old are you? Next month is your birthday.
Yes. I am turning 29.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
29.
Yeah.
How devastating is that?
I'm old.
Wow. Man. You were the baby in your crew at DreamWorks. Remember that?
Yeah. I have a late birthday, so I'm typically younger than most everyone. And so for most of my life, I was treated as like, oh, you're so young. Even when I came on YouTube, everyone's like, oh, you're so young, because everyone thinks I'm like 17 or something, and I'm like, I'm turning 29.
Remember when we were kids a million years ago?
Yeah.
What would we do?
So you mean in terms of like
entertainment? Because we didn't have the internet growing up. Well, we kind of did, but like when we were really young, between the ages of 5 and 7.
Yeah.
Like what we would do is just like watch TV.
Yes.
That was my favorite thing to do.
Yes.
And like if you watch too much TV, that people would scold you for it. Remember that?
Yes. It's so weird to think about like when we were young, we were born before the internet really existed. Well, not existed, but it wasn't like a thing. It was pretty difficult to...
What is this internet?
To get online.
Yeah.
Because like you had to have one of those dads that were like really into like tech. And then they'd like do dial-up, and then you have like the phones and stuff. So unless and it was slow. There's nothing to do.
Remember the dial-up sound?
Yeah. And the AOL disc.
Oh yeah, the trials.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But like even I remember when that happened. I think it was like, at least for my family, it was like 4th grade. Mm-hmm. So that's late. So up like I can only remember memories from like 6 years old and on. I think it's because that's kind of when I started learning English. And stopped really speaking in Chinese. And so I have like this weird memory gap. But from 6 years old to like onwards, I would come home from school and I would watch Saturday morning cartoons when I was really little. I don't really remember what I would watch in the afternoon when I was really little, but I do remember Saturday morning cartoons. And
you gotta watch Pokemon.
Yeah,
of course.
Yes. And
well, I think it was 9 o'clock in the morning.
I think so.
I would like rush and stomp, like do, and I want to be the very best.
Yeah, I had a hard time waking up early, even as a kid. So I oftentimes actually missed Pokemon.
Wow.
Yeah. When I would wake up early enough to watch it, I'd be so excited. But I would mostly watch like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Osmosis Jones, Jackie Chan's Adventure, Static Shock.
Yes.
All of like the ones that aren't as like popular. Well, like are usually when I would like.
You didn't watch Digimon?
Them.
you watch the Digimon?
I would catch it sometimes.
Okay.
But Digimon to me was like a not as good version of Pokemon.
Wow, a lot of people would say Pokemon's not as good version of Digimon.
There's the Digimon fans that would murder me, and then there's the Pokemon fans like, yeah.
Yeah, you say it. You say it.
What about you? What would you watch?
I think that would be it. And then like for me, after school was super important to me, because after being in prison from 8 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my only my only highlight of the day was to watch The Simpsons. That was it. Like, that's all I had every day, man. Like, watch The Simpsons and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So my after school block would be, I pretend to do homework. By the time I come home, I'd eat a little bit and I'd pretend to do homework by the time it's like 5 o'clock. And then when it's 5 o'clock, I have dinner. And then at 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, the block was like 2 back-to-back hours of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. No, it was like, they would have like Simpsons at 6 and 7 and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air like 6:30 and 7:30, and it was just like perfect. It was like the perfect entertainment block, and that would be it. And then at nighttime would be the best, so I'd have the routine of watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and then watch The Simpsons. But if I were lucky and I didn't have a test or whatever, or if my parents weren't paying attention and I would watch TV instead of doing the thing I was supposed to be doing, I'd be watching like 24. I'd be watching Lost. I'd be watching American Idol. I'd be watching Last Comic Standing, Big Brother, Amazing Race sometimes, whatever cooking show, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Oh, my God. So, like, when I got into, like, teenage years, basically preteen to teenage years, I got into, like, MTV, cooking shows, and then at the very end, basically when I'm about to go to college, finally the, like, adult shows, like on TNT. And
Law and Order.
Yeah, basically.
Like 11 years old. Oh, the criminal justice system. So interesting.
No. But like that completely took me back. I watched a lot of Food Network. I love
Unwrapped. Right.
Unwrapped.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Diners, drive-in, and dives. A lot of so random. I love food that much. And then I have this weird fascination with bad TV. Like, I really like bad TV because I grew up on, like, bad MTV reality TV shows. And they're really fascinating for me because they're, like, as an alien, I don't really know why human beings behave the way they do. So, like, when I see reality TV shows where human beings act very extremely to each other, I go like, wow, that's fascinating. But yeah, that was like my teenage years, until I discovered YouTube.
And with the internet changed everything. Do you remember when you first stumbled upon YouTube? Because I do. I do so vividly.
I remember somehow, I don't remember exactly how, but around middle school, I think, was when I discovered YouTube, because that's around when it happened.
Yeah, obviously.
And when it started. So I remember, like, memes. Like, I remember for a really long time I didn't get into YouTube, actually, because I thought it was just like a meme thing, like for the first year or so. Like, it was just a place where people put like their home videos and like just random stuff, like nothing interesting. It wasn't until high school where like people started to really like make like their channels a thing.
Wait, you went to high school with people who had YouTube channels?
Some of them, yes.
Even at that time?
I didn't know of them at that time.
Okay.
But I did know there were some people around my area that were already fairly famous.
Yeah, to be specific, we're talking about like, this is like 2005.
Yeah.
2005, 2006.
Yeah.
Maybe even earlier than that. And that when I stumbled upon YouTube, my friends were making skateboard videos.
On YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's what. No, but like you didn't do it to be famous.
Yeah.
You put yourself skating on YouTube because it's the only way you could, show that you did a kickflip or whatever. Like, it's like proof. It's not like you went on YouTube like now, like to become famous. It was just like a means to an end of like, hey man, I landed my first kickflip.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's just easy. Do a heel flip and all that shit. But it didn't mean much to me. And when I would go, because I didn't have internet, but like my friends would, make these YouTube videos, and then I would like surf while they're doing whatever, and I would see like at the time YouTube was just like the Wild West, man. I think there were like whole entire movies. Was there prawn in YouTube?
I mean, we wouldn't have known.
We wouldn't have known.
Yeah, but I remember there was a lot of music.
There's a lot of music.
You can just
like free music.
Yeah, listen
like,
to whatever.
And I don't know, like at that time, whatever people describe the dark web now was very similar to like,
I guess, yeah,
the internet that we grew up with, because it was just so fucking like you could do whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was insane, and that changed everything. And I didn't know, like, when like I bet a lot of like people who were born into the internet, a lot of the Zoomers, they're like, what is that like? Yeah. You don't think much of it though. I didn't think much of it. Like, oh, the internet, that's cool. Like, oh, my friends put skate videos and I'm trying to put my art up there.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like, oh, what a neat way. It's like mail. I thought it was like the new mail. Yes. But I didn't think it would be like the fucking juggernaut that it is now.
I growing up, to me, the internet was, well, I thought of the internet and computers as like the same thing. So like when my dad is like super into like tech, so like he's if you've ever watched, I think it's Kim's Convenience, that show. I watched like the first season of a few years ago, and the dad, like, I guarantee you 100%, if you're Asian, you understand the stereotype of like the Asian dad that like buys,
haggles,
that like somehow one day he brings home a computer and it's like huge and he's like, totally, just like you download this and then you like do the dial-up thing and then you can turn it on, and then like they do it and then everyone gathers around and then it's like not very exciting because you couldn't do much on it. That was my dad.
Dude, I remember that too. I remember when my parents got a computer for the first time, Windows 95.
Oh my god.
I remember like not thinking much of it. I was like thinking like, what is this hunk of junk? I don't know what to do with this thing. I remember even my grandparents had the old Macintoshes that were just like the black screen with the green. And like the only use I thought I had as a young person for computers was like, oh, does it play a video game?
Yeah.
And then like I'd be happy when I'd be playing one of those like games at school. Even the educational ones, like, okay, that's what I use the computer for. But like I would never like think I would waste so much time on that thing growing up. I'd rather play Super Nintendo or whatever.
My dad, because I didn't have Super Nintendo, my parents are so cheap that I didn't have like a game console till like the Game Boy Advance, and I had to beg for like months, it seemed like, to get it, and then they wouldn't buy me any games for it. So my dad found like discount, I don't know, like Korean game cartridges for the Game Boy Advance at some yard sale, and that's what I would play for a really long time, until finally I also begged them for Pokemon. And that I've memorized everything about that game because it was like the only game I had. And then I didn't have like a true console until late high school. I just had the computer. So my dad, actually being really into like tech, he somehow got a lot of educational video games for me, and that's like all I went to, just type. So that's why I can like type kind of fast, because like I would just play typing games all day. I remember I would play the Oregon Trail a lot. I know you play that in school. At least in some schools, you do. But like, I had it at home and I just play it for fun, like catch fish or something. And lo and behold, now I have Animal Crossing. It's kind of the same thing.
You just catch fish.
Yeah. And from there, I discovered Neopets and like
Neopets,
Flash
man.
games on like the early internet. I remember playing so many weird, strange things that were just made by probably just like some random person, just like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to like code.
I tried to buy CDs. I tried to buy a CD today at Best Buy.
Yeah.
Because you ordered something.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, we're going on a few trips.
Yeah.
And there's a long drive. And I tried to get this Bluetooth dongle that you put in the cigarette charger thing.
Yeah.
And then it would allow you to use your phone to play music through the speakers via the radio.
Yeah.
But that thing really sucks when you're driving because like every 30 miles,
Yeah.
it like, you know, the radio stations change and they
yeah.
jumble up. So then like it sucks again. You have to find it again. It's just the worst.
Yeah.
So
Our car is like in the in between where it's not old enough to have one of those cassette tapes and it's not new enough to have Bluetooth. So it's like only has a CD player.
yeah. Which is like, that's how useless CDs have become. Like
Yeah.
I don't even use it. So I went to Best Buy and they don't have CDs. And I was like, wow, this is like,
I'm old.
I'm old. But I remember, did you have a CD pouch growing
Yes,
up?
I had
a CD
many,
pouch.
yeah.
I had a CD pouch. I would like draw all sorts of stupid shit on
Yes,
it. And then
yes.
I'll be like, yeah, like this is my CD pouch, man. I'm cool.
I filled it all with CDs I burned off the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude. What would you use? What was your very first time getting music from the internet?
So I remember Napster really briefly, but then I was like all about like LimeWire.
It was all about the
Yeah.
LimeWire. Because Napster went away, and Napster happened when we were way too young.
Yeah. Yeah.
But LimeWire happened. That lasted, I think, until like I was a junior in high school.
Before it became Pirate Bay.
Yeah, and then torrenting, it was just
Yeah.
like became all the rage. still all the rage. Did you ever do that stuff? I totally never did that.
Never.
Stuff. No.
Never.
No, I'm just
Never.
Just kidding. You're just kidding. Seriously though, I think the kids are screwed.
What?
I think it's over for the kids.
Why?
Because of the internet. I think it's ruining their minds and their lives, and it's over for them. I think they'll
so.
never be able to relate to each other in the way that we related to each other when we were kids.
Well, yeah, I guess, kind of. But like, I don't know, times change. Maybe they don't need to.
That's true. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
being like old man yelling at the cloud right now.
Well, I just like explaining all of that. We grew up differently with the way we behave with like YouTube and the internet. We browse. We are all about like the computer and the laptops, especially because we're older. I'm turning 29.
That's kind of crazy to say.
Yeah.
Wow.
You
I remember when Janet, like, you think she looked like 17? I remember when Janet looked like a little ass girl.
when we first
started
met,
dating.
Yeah.
Like, gee.
Even recently, I did like the 10-year photo challenge, like last year or something like that, where like you take a photo that you took like 10 years ago, and then you take a recent photo and you like put it next to each other, and like I look the same. I was really shocked. I thought like I would look slightly more my age, older, but I literally just looked the same. I think I aged like 5 years though in 1 year, in the past year.
I think I think this entire pandemic thing has aged all of us. There's a huge like Naruto ship it and time skip.
Yeah.
We all look older. Some of us have scars and stuff.
But because we are older now, we're not like millennials aren't the cool kids anymore. We're not
cool.
We were never cool. Everyone always hated us. Unfortunately, we never had like our time. But
sun.
yeah, but we're not like the trendsetters anymore. Like we were the ones that like did the whole skinny jean phase, and everyone like, oh, why are the millennials sagging their pants or whatever it was, trends at the time. We don't affect culture like that anymore.
Damn, that's true. It is.
Yeah.
It is our generation that did the sagging pants thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
But then we also did the skinny jean thing immediately after.
Yeah. But then what's the Zoomer thing?
The Zoomer thing is high-waisted,
Oh.
baggy pants.
Hmm.
It's kind of like very 60s.
60s.
And 80s. But the we are not the it kids anymore. It's the Zoomers, because we are reaching our 30s. Yeah, we are millennials. I think we're, at least a lot of us are probably have careers, or at least has started their career, or
We pay taxes to the government.
some people have had kids.
Yes.
Stuff like that. So we don't actually, I realize that we don't look at the internet and YouTube the same way the kids do. I feel so old saying that, but like, because we're working a lot of the times, the only way you can browse the internet as much as we did when we were younger is to like do it on our laptops or our work computer or whatever. I think you and I actually behave more like Gen Z in a lot of ways than we do like millennials.
Right.
Like there are a lot of millennials I know who are very like haven't kept up with technology, and like they're shocked by some of the things that like I've told them. Like for example, when I was super into like YouTube at work, I would tell people all these things about like how people can make money online and all that stuff, and
Were they all like, what?
yeah, they were like, you're insane. Like this is the way, like you get a job, you go to college, you get a job, like what's
This is how everybody does it.
yeah, like this newfangled internet thing where you like make money on, even millennials, like some of them can be a little bit like, so you just
Get a job.
like how do you make money?
You play video games all day
like,
long?
yeah, like yeah, and then they judge you.
I have a real job.
Whereas like I've noticed like Gen Z, they are on their phones a lot more. I didn't have a phone till I was like 15.
I didn't have a phone until I was 18.
Yeah, you're a late bloomer.
Yeah.
I had to teach you how to use
Yeah.
a smartphone.
Yeah. I was like an Amish boy.
Yeah.
What is this phone? What is this phone? How do I use this telephone?
I had to get one early because I'd walk home from school. My parents didn't want me to get kidnapped.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But like that was considered early, like 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I some people have had phones. I don't know. They've always had phones.
I see little kids with
Yeah.
phones.
Yeah.
Like little.
They are practically born with phones.
Yeah, attached to their head.
Yeah. Come out of the womb. Ah! The phone comes out after.
And that image is very disturbing.
It's the baby and then.
I just imagine babies with cell phones attached to their heads.
Cronenberg direct the movie. Do it. David Lynch, do it. Stupid as fuck. There's so much more distraction too when you're on your phone.
Yeah.
Like I think when we were growing up, the computer, like TV, growing up, like as a young person, TV was like the biggest distraction next to video games, obviously. But then the internet, as you're growing teenager, and you want to know like, ooh, is you know this person dating that person or whatever, you're doing the whole like social media thing that eats up like all of your attention. But then like imagine everything. Imagine like, you know, everything we grew up with in like one convenient package. And that's what the phone is, man.
Yeah.
The phone is crazy. The phone is like, I think killing TV. It's killing
Yes.
the movie industry. It's because it's like, we don't, most like I know it's sacrilegious to say, but most people like watch movies and stream The Godfather or whatever. They stream music videos that were, you know, shot on an Ari.
Yeah.
On their phone.
Yeah.
There's this awesome video of Steve Albini.
Uh-huh.
He someone gave him an iPod, and he made him listen to his band, but then like MP3ified through the through the earbuds.
Yeah.
He hated it.
Oh my god.
He was like, oh my god, it's like so tinny. It's like tinny. There's no bass. There's no bass response or whatever. And it's just like, ugh. And it's just like but like that is the musical equivalent of what's happening now. Like these big studio productions with like really expensive equipment. What played through like probably the worst form.
An iPhone screen. That's
an iPhone screen, not even through like your headphones.
Yeah.
But then like I'm sure as an engineer or producer, that's something you have to take into consideration. Now you have to like understand that like, okay, I have to mix for when people have headphones. I got to mix for the car, and I got to mix for the idiot who fucking listens to their phone to this really expensive song.
Yeah, like kids, they will watch everything on a phone, because it's the most convenient. Like they're not gonna go to a desktop. Some kids don't even have laptops.
Yeah, it's just like, why would you need one?
Yeah.
Like I think you would just need an iPad.
Yeah, I think most people have iPads now instead of laptops. And
I think it's because schools these days, they don't even need you to bring a laptop. It's just mostly iPad these days.
That just made me realize, do they suck at typing?
No, because I think the schools make them have an iPad and one of those Apple keyboards or Bluetooth keyboard. Hey. And like with that, that's like a computer.
Wow.
Right? It's like basically a computer.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It's a laptop. And everything. It's everything. So like you're computing, their attention spans become very, very short, because like not only are you competing with like YouTube is competing with every other app on that phone, Instagram, Tinder, whatever app,
everything
that you use,
Uber Eats, Lyft,
Spotify, whatever,
Netflix.
And their attention spans went from like, for us, I grew up eventually, like my teen years, on YouTube mostly, and I grew up on like the 10-15 minute long video-ish, and I found YouTube to be far, like I started spending a lot more time on the internet than I did watching any TV show on TV, because my favorite, I don't know, fashionista was so much more relatable than whatever. And I eventually got into like PewDiePie, and then like I was like really into like the indie music thing. Like there are a bunch of people like Christina Grimmie, rest in peace, and like a lot of like musicians that were coming up on YouTube, and I already feel like people at the time in like college, for example, would criticize me for having a really low attention span. Like I didn't get into old movies until you helped kind of get me used to slowing down the pace and being patient with the movie. I already didn't.
Oh man, I wouldn't dare show you a Bergman when we were first starting to date.
Yeah,
no way.
I would have. Yeah. We had to start with like Indiana Jones. Yeah. Because I hadn't watched most of anything.
That was like barely the amount of attention span that was like enough for you to be like, okay, I think I could watch this.
Yeah. And then like, I remember the first time you showed me a black and white movie, I don't remember what it was, but I do remember my reaction was like, I don't want to watch a black and white movie. It's boring. And then you were like, how dare you? We're watching this. And then, but like, the thing is, people like me had to be trained to have enough patience for these, slower paced movies.
Yeah, so I don't think all is lost just because like by default people's attention spans are lower. A lot lower. I think it's possible for somebody to just like, if they're interested in slowing it down, they can. It's not hard. And like you went from, you could barely handle a Steven Spielberg movie to you're watching art house films now.
Yeah.
And you're going
and
like,
I really enjoy it, yeah. But like, as someone who is used to anime and 10-15 minute long YouTube videos that were maybe super slice of life is what I would call it, sometimes very like sometimes you like doesn't even have a linear story. I was more used to that than I was with like really heavy like cinema. And I can only imagine how like people's attention span have shrunk to smaller than mine at the time, where now people are really into TikTok. That's what,
15-second content,
30-second, 1 minute long content. And then the sweet spot on YouTube is anywhere between like 6 to 8 minutes is what they say. And that's like 2 minutes. Like once you start making content, 2 minutes is a long time. 2 extra minutes of content, that's if it required you to cut out that much material to like keep people's attention, you have to like really like keep only the most important parts and to like be really, really fast paced. So I think like the Zoomers, they really consume media completely different than we do. Like we are still into movies and TV shows, we meaning millennials. Mm-hmm. I don't really think the Zoomers are, because of this reason, because of like their lack of attention span. I'm not making a value judgment. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just
how things are.
It's yeah.
Like where we're headed.
Yeah, and the same goes for other arts like music. I realized fairly recently that when we were growing up, I don't even consider myself super into music. I'm very much like top 40s pop music hits, listen to Disney Channel most of my like preteen life.
And you like country music.
And, yeah, oddly enough, I really like country growing up. So I'm just like very basic as you come. But even I think most people our age would like, in order to listen to music, there was no option. You had to go and buy a CD. Mm-hmm. Or you had the radio.
Or catch it on the radio.
Yeah. And so like I had CDs, you had CDs, but now I don't think people own music. They're unless you are like a huge audiophile or you're a big fan of whatever music artists, most people are more like me, where like probably just stream it. That's how you consume. You don't even listen to radio, really. Mm-hmm. You probably put on your headphones when you're in the car, turn on Spotify, your favorite playlist or whatever, and you just play whoever you want to listen to. Yeah. And that changes everything too. Like the fact that the Zoomers are literally all online and they're not buying physical things necessarily, and their attention spans are really, really short. Because like when you had a CD, you played that CD a lot, because that costed all you had, like man. $25 or something, and it has the 12 songs. You memorize those lyrics, and like that's the soundtrack of your life of that time. Now it's so easy to just skip. Yeah. Skip. There's like so much music out there. So when you would listen to an entire album, people now barely listen to one of your songs.
I'm really curious if any of you are interested in answering in the comments down below, like how do you consume music? Because I still go by an album basis. I still like for example, we're watching a rock documentary, and like it's never just about the one rock band. Lots of rock bands or lots of musicians participate, and they're all there are all these people that I don't know, and I look them up, and I go and I approach it by I guess the first thing I do is I want to know what their like number one song is. So it's like usually on Spotify it's the top 5, so like the one with the most amount of plays, I play that one. Yeah. So what is that? But then like if I want to get into it, I go on like this album journey. I'm like, what do they sound like at the very beginning? And then I like go to the end. And I love doing that because that's how I would do it if I were to buy their CDs. Yeah. But like I don't know how like the kids do it, man. I bet they don't really do it that way. I don't know.
I know how I do it.
How do you do it?
I go to playlists.
Oh, you do playlists?
Yeah. I think most people discover music through curated playlists. And if you go through, like, it's so easy to be like skip, like the first 20 songs don't speak to you, but finally you find that one song that's like, oh, I kind of like this. You listen to it a little bit, you go to the profile, and I only listen to the top 5. And then because part of me is like, I don't have time to go through. Like, one, I don't care all that much. I want to know what if your top 5 isn't good, why would your other stuff be any good?
Right.
Unfortunately, too, people aren't very prolific these days. So
yeah, so a single comes out and then like a million years happen. Yeah. And then another piece of
they don't have much on there, so I don't even bother. So that's how a normie listens to music. And I consider myself a huge normie when it comes to music. So I assume that's how most people would.
We've been getting into like lots of research about how to release songs and release music on Spotify, and it's really amazing how similar it is to like, you know, a lot of what, you know, we do as artists. It's very similar. It's just like, if you're an up and coming artist, don't be an idiot and make a zine. Yes. If you're an artist and nobody really knows you yet, I mean, I'm sure you're great. Let's say you're great. Let's say you're like really good.
Yes.
Let's say you're really, really, really good, and you're barely starting out. Do not come out with a zine. Yes. Do not come out with merch.
Yes.
Like clothing stuff yet. No, Try to sell the small stuff. Sell the buttons.
Yes.
Sell the prints.
The buttons.
Buttons first, actually.
Yeah.
Buttons first. You can sell a few buttons. Like, you can sell a few prints.
Yeah.
Sell a few prints, and you make maybe bigger prints. Ooh. You know?
You make bigger prints. If you have enough of them, maybe you can make an art book or a zine.
And like, what's interesting about researching how the approach for music is, it's very similar, that like, you know, coming out with a book is like coming out with an album.
Yeah.
It's like you have this compilation of drawings that took you a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like each drawing, even it doesn't matter if it's like your workshop sketches or whatever. This is time out of your day put into a compilation, and then all of a sudden it comes out, and then what? Like you hope people buy it.
Yeah.
You hope people support it. I mean, everybody could hopes that. Maybe you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Maybe you don't put all your eggs in one basket, because like that's a lot of effort. But instead, like, what if you like came out with like a print? Maybe not even a low effort. Like it could be like a very like a simple print, maybe a smaller print.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't have to be like 11 by 17 yet. Maybe it's like, you know, postcard size print.
Yeah.
Like if you can sell that, then you're good. It's almost like that. So what is the musical equivalent of that? Singles.
Yeah.
That's why singles are so goddamn important in our, you know, musical day and age. Because it's just like, people have such a short attention span. You only got one shot.
Yeah.
But like, not like you only have one shot, because you can always try again. You know, you can always come out with another single. But it's like you only have one shot though. So you shouldn't like put like 12 shots of your music in one and then put it out, and then everybody's going to be like, pass, or it goes out by the wayside. But and then you like wasted 12 songs. So you make a single and you're like, oh, people didn't like had the way that was. Or maybe you keep coming out with singles until you find one that resonates with you. That's so similar to what we used to do, of like, you know, you come out with a print and you're like, oh man, like people aren't digging this, and you finally have the composition or whatever that's like it really resonates with people, and you're like, oh, this is it. I found this, and you go in that direction. And because like no one knows who you are too. When I think about like conventioning and gallery stuff, just selling your art generally, I took a lot of pride in being able to sell as much as we would at conventions, because we never tried to lean on the fact that we were working industry people. That's because we understood even back then that like, if we said that to someone, 9 times out of 10, most people don't care. They don't actually care.
Yeah. It doesn't mean anything to them.
At the end of the day, it's like, oh, I'm going to spend my hard-earned money on your stuff.
If I like it.
Yeah, if I like it.
And it doesn't matter if I tell them I worked at DreamWorks or if I worked at Disney. They'd be like, cool. If my art didn't belong on their walls, they're not going to buy my art. So learning how to market ourselves from as nobodies, and convincing someone to take a risk and give us their hard-earned money on nobodies was really a really interesting challenge for me, because I think what a lot of people struggle with, especially when you are like a working artist, let's say you freelance or you work in the industry or whatever, I think you struggle with ego and pride, the way you like go about selling your personal work, because you think that people should care about you or should know, or like this is good quality work, they would, but like you don't realize you're thinking in a very selfish perspective. When you're selling art that belongs on someone's walls, the what's the word, like when you're working on a freelance project, they call it something like the thing that the client wants needs to accomplish certain goals. If you just make a really beautiful piece of art that you think is amazing, that doesn't accomplish the client's goals. The client who's going around the convention to buy your art, what is their goal? To find something that looks nice in their house. Your beautiful art, as much as it might be beautiful, might not fit their house. It's beautiful. It's revolutionary. It's amazing. They don't care because it didn't fit what they're wanting to buy. And thinking like that, and then also knowing that, like, well, if no one knows who I am, I can't sell a print for $20, $15, $10. What other people who are much more established can sell their print at. I can't do that. No one knows who I am, and I'm not good at what I do, clearly. If I was, then people would buy the art. And so, like, learning to I need to start from zero and learn how to go from, like, okay, I'm going to sell this for nothing. Even though, yes, technically I work at DreamWorks, they don't care, they don't know, they don't think this is worth anything. They're going to buy it for, what, $5? Okay, that's $5. That's how much I am worth right now in their eyes. But then, you know, you put out a print, like you said, you put out a print and, like, it bombs. But then you, like, eventually you do it, you keep doing it and keep doing it. Eventually, like, maybe your 10th print or something. Suddenly, you sell, like, 5 of them. And that's, like, never happened before.
What?
And
really?
You're like, oh, something about that, and then you try to replicate it, and maybe you do, and then eventually you go from selling like 5 copies of one print to like 10, to like many of your prints are selling. And then we had to learn that the hard way, though. We wasted a lot of money trying to do more than we were capable of. So, like, we made zines. Like, one of our first times conventioning, we both made zines. We, like, pulled an all-nighter. We made them ourselves. We bought one of those cool, like, zine staplers that would staple it yourself. And then we printed it. My printer was, like, clogged. The ink was clogging. I had to fix it, like, every few hours. And we spent all night making these, and, like, none of them sold. And it was a lesson of, like, if no one knows who you are, no one's going to buy your zine. They might buy a print. They might buy a small print. They'll definitely throw like a few bucks change basically at you for a button. And like, so learning that is really interesting to know. Like, it teaches you how much people, like, how much care people have too for art and entertainment. If you literally don't get them by, like, the first impression, for us, it's art. For a lot of people, it's art. They'll look at your art piece. If it doesn't resonate with them in the first read, basically, they're gone.
Yeah, and whose fault is that?
Yours.
Yeah.
And same with music. Like, when I'm, like, listening to stuff on Spotify, if literally the first 10 seconds don't grab me, I don't care. Maybe I'll give you 30 seconds if I'm patient that day. But yeah, that's
I'm a lot more patient.
Yeah, but you're different. You're, like, a lot more into music growing up than I was, right? You knew all the, like, cool punk bands and the underground stuff. Your parents actually knew pop
Your
culture.
parents only listen to, like, Chinese covers of American songs.
Yes.
It's hilarious.
Yes. I bet you that if I played my parents, like, I bet you the CD's still in their car to this day. They played the CD on repeat. It's this weird, screechy Chinese music that you probably hear in, like, the Chinese grocery store. Like, if I played that right now, all, like, the Chinese millennials, like, yeah, my parents listen to the weird stuff. Yeah, my parents, the reason why I basically lived under a rock until college is because my parents are immigrants who never really assimilated
into Americanism.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, like, they didn't care about movies. They didn't really let me go see movies because they didn't want me to waste money. They didn't really buy me CDs because they didn't want me to waste money. They didn't buy me video games because they didn't want to waste money. So I didn't have any type of culture most of my life until college. So people would say, like, I would think I'm, like, one of those dumb basic people, and, like, yes, I am, but I'm also a blank slate because I'm not, like, I don't have judgment on anything. I just go like, oh, what's that? Cool. I've never heard that before. Like you introduced me to the Beatles. And like, basically you introduced me to all of pop culture, now that I think about it. Yeah. And
crash course.
Yes.
I'd be a great professor on pop culture, I guess. Huh. What a useless thing. Perfect for a university, actually.
It is not useless.
Really? You really think so?
Because guess how difficult it is to be me in a social situation.
Oh, I guess.
I can't talk to, like, at the time, I couldn't talk to anyone about anything. What movies do you like?
Oh, it's like Star Wars. Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. What music do you like? I don't listen to music. What video games did you play? Pokemon? Like, I can't have a conversation with anyone. So, yeah. Except for maybe about, like, YouTube. And, like, Neopets or something. Like that's what I grew up with.
Oh my god. Why doesn't Gen Z care about the movies? Why doesn't I think it's because Gen Z doesn't give a shit about the medium. Period.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it.
I think it's really unrelatable for the younger generation.
And so the Zoomers really care about that word.
Relatability.
Yeah, I think it's starting to get really overwrought now. but I think it's not like it's not true. I think it's still true. I mean,
yeah,
kids
because,
want
like,
to feel like, oh, that's me up there, you know.
When I started watching YouTube, I didn't care about reality TV anymore. There's something so fake about reality TV when you know how real people behave. At least as real as you can get it on YouTube. And I think that's really interesting that, like, people like that more. And like, they don't have... I find us falling into this trap as well. A lot of times we pass on watching movies and TV shows because they're too long. I don't want to sit through 30 minutes of setup, of, like, learning about one character, or waiting till halfway into the movie realizing it's a bad movie, but you already spent, like, an hour or so of your life on it, and you're like, I might as well finish it, I guess. But then I hate the feeling of watching a movie and then feeling like I wasted my life. Like, 2 hours, you stole that from me.
There's nothing more unsatisfying than leaving a movie theater knowing that, like, you watched something that was just so-so.
Yeah.
I would have preferred to watch a bad movie.
Yeah.
But then to watch a so-so movie, it's like bad enough that it's not satisfying enough, but it's satisfying, but then doesn't have the payoff. It's a really frustrating experience.
Or it's not memorable.
It's not memorable.
Yeah.
And then you, like, have wasted all this time and money.
Yeah.
And then you could have just, like, been watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And you would have been fine.
Yeah, at least you would have learned something.
Or enjoyed yourself.
Oh, yeah, or laughed
at
something. Or, yeah. And I think that's what, like, if we feel that way, and we're considered millennials, but I consider us more closer on the side of like Gen Z because we're on the younger end of the millennial spectrum. So if we already don't have, we love movies, so we're gonna always like, I don't know, spend like few hours watching a movie eventually one day. But if I pass them up a lot more these days because I just don't have time, or I don't have the care to sit for like an hour on something that might or might not be good. I'm like, I'd rather be watching YouTube videos for an hour. I could get so much more done, or I'd feel like I've consumed so much more.
It's like a feast. You'd feel full.
Yeah.
Whereas then, like, if you watched a movie that was unsatisfying, it's just like, oh, it's like going to a restaurant. The same thing. If a restaurant's just like especially one that like, you know, you had high expectations for it. If it was just so-so, oh my God, dude, the worst. I'm a saying where I'm like, it's not worth the calories. I'm like, if I want to destroy my body, it better be like delicious. Yeah. I better like groan it out in pain going, oh, it's so worth it. So worth it.
But I also think, besides the fact that in terms of quality, I think Gen Z likes the like YouTube videos and internet stuff. They think it's better quality, even though technically, I don't know, so it's not shot on like the craziest camera or film or whatever. It is better quality in their opinion because it's doing the job of entertaining better. And it's Hollywood just cannot compete with that. They can't, because when Hollywood is all about like scripts and all that stuff, like even reality TV show is scripted. They can't compete with the relatability aspect, and they're slower and more expensive. So like the iPhone 13 just came out, and it's amazing. The cinematic mode, the computer algorithm can pretend like it knows how to do bokeh. Like
the whole advertisement, it was on a movie set, and it felt like the entire thing was Apple going like, "This, we're not going to show off our new phone. We're showing off our new camera."
Yeah,
and that's basically how it was. It's crazy. The new camera, like it's not exactly racking focus and stuff, but it's like kind of digitally doing that, so it feels like there's, you know, foreground blur and you can control it. It's insane.
It's
it's like, what, like, I mean, like, at this point, like, anybody could be a YouTuber if you have that camera, you're set.
If like the fact that anyone who can afford a smartphone can put content online, like Hollywood can't compete with that. That like the amount of hours of content that is being uploaded to TikTok and YouTube and everything every single day. How in the world can Netflix, Disney, these big studios compete with that? Because I don't think they understand that like social media is their competition too. Like I think at the time, these big studios like Disney, all these, they were like looking at Netflix as like their next competition, so everyone jumped into like the streaming wars and stuff. But
it was so anticlimactic.
Yeah,
it's like everybody lost.
Everyone. And like they don't understand though, like who's Netflix's biggest competition? YouTube. Like free content being like uploaded constantly, much more relatable. You don't need to pay people all that much to get it.
People are practically making the content for free.
Yeah,
there's an entire, like, anybody can find an audience too.
Yeah,
you could be some really, really small niche, but then you will find your peoples eventually.
No one can tell you, oh, that idea sucks, you shouldn't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I don't know, someone will like it if you're doing it well enough. And I also like, with the whole iPhone 13 thing, phone footage used to look like awful. Now phone footage looks borderline cinema quality. And then not only that, I had been following a lot of filmmaking YouTube channels for a really long time. On YouTube, there was a whole era of the cinema camera, and it became very, very unrelatable.
You told me that they would use ARIs just for YouTube videos.
Yes.
And I was just like, that is ridiculous. Doesn't it take like 2 or 3 people to man an ARI?
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, there's smaller, more compact cinema cameras now, but like for a while, because YouTube became more of like an industry, where brands, like at this point, it should be obvious that there are people making a lot of money on YouTube after they've like made an audience and stuff. They can afford a cinema camera, so like they would just have one, just to have one to review and take on shoots and stuff like that. Or like Ari would like do brand deals with people. Come to our studio. Like Ari cameras, you have to rent them because there's only so many in the world, because why would they make more? Like normies like us are not allowed to touch them.
No.
But
it is for the elite.
if you got connections. But like the company would like invite YouTubers to their studio to like test it out. And I was like, why though? But like the fact is, some people can, and the quality of the YouTube video is becoming like movie TV show quality for some
at least
people.
Netflix quality.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen some people, like some people on YouTube with the film and photography stuff, their stuff looks better than what you would see on an average Netflix production. So
in terms of that, like clearly there's money in it, and clearly like it's like YouTube is breaking the like boundaries of what entertainment can be and who can be making it and all that stuff. And I'm just like, how in the world can Hollywood possibly compete with that? But then we were thinking about how, like, you know what's really interesting? The music industry is actually adopting the internet.
Yeah.
They're changing with the times very, very well.
Yeah, I was telling you, the movie industry, Hollywood, is super confrontational to the internet.
Yeah, they hate us.
Yeah, they hate the internet.
They hate.
But the music industry has found its way to just like use it to their advantage and really like just continue to, like, I think there's a lot of talk by the people on like the old timer musician people like the Beatos and all the cool people on the internet of like, oh, this is the end for the music industry. I'm like, no, I think they're gonna be just fine. I think they're gonna be just fine. Just seeing like how Olivia Rodrigo is, and just seeing how quickly TikTok became like the place to find the next indie person, and then quickly turned into a corporate, you know, what does the man want you to listen to now? That type of thing. Yeah. And that happened so quickly, and I just feel like, you know, the music industry and Hollywood, notorious for being nefarious. Yes. Notorious for taking advantage of artists and just doing the worst things to them, and then tossing them out like toilet paper. Yes.
Old news. New
youngin'. Here we go. Yeah. Like, you know, you've heard the song. Yeah. I mean, the song and dance before. Jesus Christ. But at least the music industry has found its way to survive, and use the internet. I really think like Hollywood and the movies and, you know, the old way of doing things is like, you know, like there would be talk in like history about, you know, when television first came out and it was like the end of movies and all that stuff, and there was like a whole war with that. And I think like I don't think we're there yet, because a lot of people are still like really into the old way of doing things. But I just don't see how we're ever going to go back to what we grew up with, ever. Yeah,
I don't think so either. The fact that, the music industry is adopting TikTok, for example. They went like full steam ahead at streaming and the whole copyright stuff. Like, they're like, you know what? We can use this to our advantage somehow. And they did. And then you know, during the whole, when music was transitioning into streaming, a lot of like the musical artists would get upset. But the music industry did what the music industry does and like adapted to the newfangled internet thing in a lot of ways before the musicians even did. They were like, oh, I know how to use you. And then they also now like what they didn't hesitate with TikTok. Oh, you mean this is like the new social media app where like we can promote all our music and like brainwash the masses? Okay, let's pay you to like do all this stuff. Like, so now like TikTok really is to me very like corporate.
Right.
Like it's nothing like a year or two ago where like it felt so community driven. Like you can just scroll around and then you'll find a new trend just naturally come up because people are creative like that. Or you just find your people. You find the weird anime freaks, and you find like the cosplayers or whatever. Like now it's all like just beautiful people dancing to the trend of the day, manufactured by a brand that paid TikTok, and that's it's so frustrating.
To create a trend.
To create it, and it's interesting that they adopted it so fast, and then they knew that because so many of these people are becoming big stars, they're like, you are going to be an artist for us, and we're going to give you the world, and we're going to own your ass. Like, it's going to be great. And then they're like, yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to be rich and famous. And that's so interesting because like it truly is that easy. You take young unknown talent who just was doing this for fun, and you give them praise and reward for doing this thing. Meanwhile, Hollywood is like, F you, YouTubers, you guys suck, you guys are lame, and berating them constantly, calling them basement dwellers or whatever. And like the YouTubers and Hollywood do not have a like good relationship with each other. I feel like it's only recently that they started getting people from the internet to do like their TV shows or movies or whatever.
Doesn't work
because like these are not actors. Like you're casting them for the wrong reasons. You should be casting an actor, not someone just for the influence that they bring.
It's because it's a different medium.
Yeah,
it's not like either or is talented or not. It's just like apples and oranges. You can't take a YouTuber who talks to the camera and put them in a situation where they're supposed to be invisible.
Yeah.
The camera's invisible, and vice versa.
So yeah, but even so, I feel like Hollywood did it begrudgingly.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like they don't do it very often. Not like the music industry. Like once TikTok blew up, suddenly there's so many TikTok musicians. All of a sudden, like just like that. So that's really fast compared to like how long did Lily Singh have to be Lily Singh before they finally took a chance on her? I wonder if her show would have done better if Hollywood had picked her up sooner. You know, like by the time she got her show, she wasn't as relevant as in her peak. You know what I mean? Whereas like there were a lot of other people coming up, people from Vine, like Liza Koshy and like David Dobrik and that kind of thing. And then like they got their own like Nickelodeon hosting stuff, I think, or whatever. But even so, like once that happens, it's like, where did they go? now like I'm interested in seeing like who's next, because we haven't really had that yet in a while. But isn't that really fascinating that like it's interesting that the music industry, as much as like they are very well known for being kind of skeevy and taking advantage of people, and they definitely are currently right now, probably most likely, but they at least are adapting to the times.
Yeah. I have a very, very cynical theory on sampling right now. And I got into sampling a little bit last year. Actually, like, no, I got really, really into it in the beginning of this year. And then I did a lot of thinking about it, and just like, you know, it's like obviously the ethics of it, but then just like how maybe the people in the industry benefit from this whole range of people sampling that's been like around like for decades. Like, this isn't anything new, but like there's this new thing that's come out. It's called TrackLib, and it's this service that you could pay, and it's never been this easy to like find a song and then sample it and then put it in your production. It's never been as easy as it is now, because you could have a service like TrackLib that like what you do is there's an upfront payment, and then there's a percentage that the studios get from however much successful your song is, and the percentage gets bigger depending on how long the sample is. Yes. So like a fraction of a second, something like that, is already pretty pricey. Yeah. So like imagine like a 3-second sample. Whoa, that's a lot of money already. So like my cynical view on it is like, okay, like if you're an optimist, you're thinking like, holy, this is it. Like now you can pay what's right, and everyone has their fair share, and everybody is like honky dory, and everything's finally fair for the first time. And like the track, like, again, I'm like just being an asshole. Yeah. I'm just being a cynical person. And TrackLib's whole advertising campaign is kind of brilliant, because they're it's kind of brilliant because they're taking people who sampled other people and then, you know, bringing them together. Like, for example, Ninth Wonder is the producer who sampled from I forgot which famous I think jazz musician, but the whole advertisement for TrackLib was them like having like a virtual meetup, because this was happening during quarantine. They were having a virtual meetup, and it was very, very emotional and all this stuff, and I just kept thinking like, this is so brilliant. Like, this is so brilliant. But then like the cynical side of me is going like, for how long do we have to like take? I understand like how amazing sampling is. Like, it's not an ethics question. It's not a question of like, is it wrong? Is it right? Is it art? Is it not? It's the idea of, how long are we gonna let these assholes? How long are we gonna suckle on their tits? You know what I mean? How long are we gonna suckle on, like, how long are we gonna take music that they've made, and they know that like, if we find out you fucking sampled our song, we will fucking end you. And oh look, see, now there's no fucking excuse. We made a totally cool way for you to like be able to sample music. And I'm thinking like, you know what? Maybe it's time we go back into real instruments, because it's like, we need to maybe make a new generation of things to sample. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like maybe like we need to get back into instrumentation, because like we can't rely on the music. Like, this is like what sampling is turning into in my weird cynical mind is like, oh, this is like how this, it's like this is how they keep the royalties to these songs alive. Yeah. This is how they keep it going. Yeah. And it's like, the longer, like the more that we take from the music industry, and the more that they're willing, because they know how to fuck with you now. Yeah. They like for example, they're like, we always thought when I think there was a big court case battle with sampling, that like it really fucked with the music industry for a long time. And I think like, you know, like the music industry couldn't do much about all the music that was happening, being covered, or being even like, you know, all this stuff that was happening on YouTube when we were in high school and all that stuff. But like now they've really figured it out. Yeah. And I think they really figured out how to fuck with young artists, producers, like, and those types of things.
What they basically did was like take away your ability to make the music altogether, or like, you can make the music, we'll just take everything that you made off of it,
because you used a piece of me. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Just like a tiny few seconds, and then they went from there to being like, oh no, you can use it, and like, we'll give you that ability to make money, because you want to make money, right? But like, we need something like, that's borderline mafia behavior, in my opinion, because like, a lot of times samplers barely use like a few seconds.
Dude, it's
or
a lot.
Yeah.
Like if you see people like what everyone should do is like after this podcast go on YouTube and type mass appeal, rhythm roulette, and what every single artist does is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
They like basically make a mosaic out of 3 albums that they pick randomly on whatever. It's amazing, but it's just like, how could you pick only like a fraction of a second? You know?
And well, like I think too that like what's strange to me is like the way the music industry has been able to enforce their copyright has been different to like how most other art is treated. Most people don't see, like if you brought something to court, everyone always wants to be a legal expert. I am not a legal expert, but it is very, very...
We are 2 idiots in a couch.
Yes. But I do know for a fact it's very difficult to argue like so-and-so copied my whatever. Or that's why like movie pitch stuff usually fail in court too, because it's very difficult to prove that like someone copied it. The thing is, like, as an artist, 9 times out of 10 you know. If you have a good eye, or like you just, there's a way you know when someone has or hasn't like copied your stuff, and it's more of like it has nothing to do with like the legality of it. We know that like most of the stuff wouldn't win in court. It's more of like a moral, like ethics thing, like artist to artist. But with music it was different, maybe because the music industry has a lot more money than most artists, but I, in my opinion, think sampled music is transformative enough. Something they like pitch it down, they cut it around.
Sure. I think it's it's totally different. Like I remember for law class at school, which is ridiculous in art school. But like they taught us how this works, and like when we were learning how to take a sample and pitch it down and stretch it and stuff, it really feels like we're obliterating it. It doesn't feel like it's the same thing anymore. But I don't think that like if they figure out that you did to it, like they'll you. Yeah.
So that's the thing, like a lot of movie reviewers and people who analyze movies on YouTube can get away with that because it's transformative enough. If you like stole my art and then like changed a little bit about it, in the eyes of the court, that is transformative enough. But like in the eyes of like for music, somehow sampling and like changing literally everything about it, but the fact that you took the MP3 file or whatever is still like not okay. That's like crazy to me that like music is treated so differently in that way. It's just weird because like I use movie clips. A lot of people use movie clips all the time, and they're not like, if like the movies studios crack down on every single YouTuber that made a movie clip, they would lose 100% in like every court case. I in fact I actually feel like that's happened before. We're like that's why we can do that now. But with music it's so different. It's like you use a little bit of a song, immedially like you're copyright claimed. All that AdSense goes straight to
the toilet, to them.
And I was just like, they're not even, they used to just take it down. Now they're like, oh no, leave it up. Well, let's just take all
your
money.
It's just like brilliant, and that's why I think music will be. That's why I think the dumb of the music industry will still continue to live. I think it's Hollywood though. You know, they don't like the internet very much, it seems.
No, but you know, I've been thinking a lot about this, partly because I had recently listened to this amazing interview with Mr. Beast by Colin and Samir, a really great channel where they interview and study other YouTubers. And Mr. Beast, I knew he was young, but I didn't realize how young. He is exactly like the first year Gen Z is considered Gen Z. So, I mean, I guess technically wherever you draw the line, he could be considered millennial or Gen Z. But from the definition, when I Googled it, he is considered Gen Z. And in my opinion, I think he's probably one of the most successful Gen Z people out there. I am pretty sure he's a multimillionaire if he is able to give out houses and cars and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a singular YouTube video and buy all that land. And realizing that he's Gen Z, the way he talked, it was fascinating the way he was talking about how he consumes media and how he was really obsessed with YouTube growing up, similar to me. But he was talking about how they asked him, what do you watch in your free time? Do you watch YouTube? Do you watch movies? Whatever. Because he talks about like the storytelling of a YouTube video and how watch time is like so important. Like that's like the most important thing out of any, like that's the one thing you should care about. Just make sure your watch time is really, really high. And they were asking him like, do you watch movies? Like you're so into storytelling. And he was like, no, not actually, no. He finds movies and TV shows really, really boring. He likes watching YouTube, and guess what? He also likes watching anime. And I was like, straight from the Gen Z mouth himself. And like, he was talking about how because like he does not want to waste someone's time. Every single minute needs to be entertaining and worth something when you're watching one of his YouTube videos, which is why like he doesn't like a lot of character setup. And usually in like a TV show or a movie, you have like 30 minutes of setup for a character. Bad ones, it just never happens, or like it happens for too long.
Where's the inciting incident?
Yeah. And he was just talking about how if you take any of like these TV shows and you put them on YouTube, watch their attention graph be awful. Just like people clicking out in like the first 30 minutes and then like no one's staying till the end of your movie. And I thought that was really, really, really interesting, because this is someone who clearly is successful. He's made a lot of money. He has gotten over 50 million subscribers on YouTube. Every single one of his videos gets tens of millions of views. That is a lot more views than I bet you a lot of TV channels, a lot of singular productions on Netflix or whatever. Probably a lot more views per video than like a lot of the shows I worked on. So I was like, this guy knows something about how to keep someone's attention, what people are interested in, what people want to watch. And him saying that, how much he loves anime and how much he loves YouTube and how much he understands how to get people's attention. And I was just like, Hollywood's doomed. Like, this is like, they can't compete with this. If people's attention spans are getting smaller, if it's all about watch time, if it's all about the internet and relatability and being real and also being able to produce all this stuff with much less money and manpower than a whole entire Hollywood production, imagine like 5 Mr. Beasts come up out of nowhere, you know, like 5 amazingly talented Zoomers start making amazing content on YouTube. That's like talent that Hollywood doesn't have. And like, I think like that's really possible. Like, if in fact it's probably already happening as I speak. Like, it's not, I think this is just the future, and we need to, as millennials, not be so egotistical, because I find that like, because we're right at that like cusp age of like starting to become irrelevant in terms of we're not the young generation anymore, and like Gen Z is coming up behind us. I think a lot of our peers are still like very self-centered. in terms of thinking. Like when you're young, you think like, oh, the world revolves around me. Everyone
And
cares
we'll never
about
stop.
me. Yeah, but like, I think it's important for us to acknowledge that we're becoming like the aunts and uncles of the internet now, and there's like a new group of young people who behave differently. They're interested in different things. Not necessarily a bad thing, but like you have to pay attention to that. And I'm paying really close attention to that. And like seeing that there's someone like Mr. Beast who has a completely different way of creating stories, because they are stories, narrative, where it's completely different from Hollywood and it's so much more effective. If Hollywood doesn't want to, but if Hollywood adopted like a lot of the rules, the YouTube rules of like attention for their TV shows, movies, documentaries, that kind of thing, I feel like then they'll finally have an inkling of what people actually want to watch.
Just an inkling.
Yeah, just an inkling. Just like, oh, maybe you'll get a hit once in a while.
Janet Chan, what are you recommending?
Sonic Highways. It is a HBO documentary series created by the Foo Fighters, specifically Dave Grohl, and it is free on YouTube.
It's free on YouTube. I think HBO and the band had a little bit of a kerfuffle, and I couldn't find it anywhere other than YouTube. And I really wanted to watch it in its, full awesomeness, so I bought the Blu-ray. But like I think all the episodes are on YouTube. So what do you like about it? I honestly didn't expect you to like it so much, but
I like the fact that there's something very contemporary about the storytelling of it. I was really like impressed with the editing, because I was like, oh, it's very like borderline YouTube. I also like the fact that Dave Grohl directs a lot of it, which is crazy to me. That like, oh, so you mean some people, they just, once they get bored of being like one of the best drummers in the world, you just like, I'll be a director. I thought that was cool. And I also really like that like he went so hard. Like, people don't understand that once you get a certain amount of success in a creative thing, you're still a creative freak of nature, and you want things to be interesting. So if you don't keep pushing yourself in that way, it'll just become a job and you'll be bored and jaded. The way Dave Grohl is doing it is like for his album, he was like, and instead of just making an album like I normally do for the past like few decades, I'm gonna go and like do a documentary where I go to a bunch of different studios, like recording studios all across the country, film it, interview these living legends, and make a song in every city that we visit. And that's the way I will make it interesting for myself. So it's so try hard. Like, I don't understand how he was able to accomplish this whole thing. And that's what I liked about it. Just marveling at the endeavor. Yeah, is amazing.
I think, I get really romantic about the whole idea that like he goes on this cross-country adventure, meeting different people, going to all these different studios, and just soaking up the inspiration and making art out of it. This is so romantic. Oh man, so good. Hope you enjoyed that episode.
If you like Jingle All Our Bells and Buttons, check out these other episodes over here to binge all our other episodes, and I'll see you next time.
Goodbye.